For decades, people who said they saw something in the sky were called crazy, conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat people, people who didn't know what they were looking at. The government said nothing was there. The government was lying. On May 8, 2026, the Pentagon released the files, 162 documents, photos, videos, eyewitness testimony, decades of records that the United States government had been holding behind classifications while telling the public there was nothing to see. Some of those files date back to 1947, the same year the Roswell incident happened. Tonight I'm taking you through what those files actually contain, what the government admitted, what they still won't say, and why the most disturbing part isn't what's in the files, it's what's still missing from them. To understand why these files were released now, you have to understand what changed in February 2026. President Trump posted on social media a single directive ordering relevant agencies to release records on UAPs, unidentified flying objects, and quote, alien or extraterrestrial life. It was 3 sentences, and it set in motion something that the United States government had been resisting for nearly 80 years. The interagency effort was given an acronym, PURSUE, the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP encounters. A dedicated government website was created, war.gov UFO, and on May 8, 2026, the first batch of files went live. 162 files from the FBI, the Department of Defense, NASA, the State Department, documents that had been classified, documents that had been redacted, documents that had been denied. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth issued a statement. He said, and I'm going to read this exactly, "These files, hidden behind classifications, have long fueled justified speculation. And it's time the American people see it for themselves." Justified speculation, that phrase is important, because the government wasn't saying the speculation was wrong, they were saying it was justified. After decades of dismissing, denying, and deflecting, the official position of the United States government is now that the speculation about what people saw in the sky above their heads was justified. Let that sit for a moment. The files cover incidents from 1947 to 2026. Almost 80 years of encounters, almost 80 years of records, almost 80 years of something happening in the skies, above military installations, civilian areas, and remote regions of the world that the government could not identify and did not tell you about. They will continue releasing files on a rolling basis every few weeks. New documents, new photos, new videos. What you're about to hear is only the first batch. Let's talk about what was actually in those 162 files, because the reality is both less and more disturbing than you might expect. Less because there are no alien bodies, no confirmed spacecraft, no smoking gun document that says, yes, we have recovered extraterrestrial technology. More because of what the files do contain, and because of what they reveal about how long the government has known that something unexplained has been operating in restricted airspace over American soil and beyond. The FBI submitted 24 photographs of UAPs from the western United States. The images were taken in late 2025, small circular objects near mountainous terrain, moving in ways the reporting officer described as impossible to positively identify. 24 photographs from late 2025 alone, not from the 1960s, not from the Cold War, from last year. There are videos, 24 videos in total, running for 41 minutes of footage. Most show infrared camera footage, white objects tracked by military sensors, moving through the air in ways that do not match any known aircraft. One video from Greece in 2023 shows an object making multiple 90-degree turns at approximately 80 miles per hour. 90-degree turns at speed. No aircraft built by any nation on Earth can make a 90-degree turn at 80 miles per hour. The physics don't allow it. The G-force alone would destroy any known craft and kill any known pilot. Whatever made that turn in Greece in 2023 was not built by human hands. Or if it was, we have never been told about it. There are Apollo mission photographs, images from Apollo 12 in 1969 and Apollo 17 in 1972, photographs taken on the moon that show unidentified objects on the lunar horizon. Apollo 17 astronaut Jack Schmitt reported seeing a flash on the lunar surface, north of a crater called Grimaldi, a flash on the surface of the moon that an astronaut standing on the moon did not have an explanation for. That report has been in a government file for 53 years. You are reading about it now for the first time. Beyond the photographs and the videos, the files contain something more personal. Eyewitness testimony, Reports filed by military personnel, people whose job requires them to be precise, people trained to observe and report accurately, people who risk their credibility by submitting these reports officially. There is a report from Iraq in 2022. A U.S. military operator reported one possible small UAP during active operations in a combat zone where U.S. troops were stationed as part of ongoing operations. Something appeared that the operator could not identify. It went into the official record. It stayed classified until May 8, 2026. There is a report from Syria in 2024. Multiple glares or light from an unknown origin, observed by U.S. troops stationed there. Not a single source. Multiple lights from an unknown origin in the airspace above an active military zone. There's a composite image released by the Pentagon based on corroborating eyewitness reports from September 2023 of what they describe as an apparent ellipsoid, bronze metallic object materializing out of a bright light in the sky between 130 and 195 feet in length and then disappearing instantaneously. Read that again. An object between 130 and 195 feet long, the length of a large commercial aircraft, materialized from a bright light in the sky and then vanished. The Pentagon's own caption on this image reads, "There is no consensus about the nature of the anomaly. No consensus. Not it was a weather balloon. Not it was a drone. Not it was a reflection. No consensus." That is the official position of the United States government on a 195-foot object that appeared from light and then ceased to exist. There is also a report from Africa in 2025, classified as Unresolved UAP Report Africa 2025. A U.S. military operator reported a UAP while operating within African airspace. Unresolved. From 2025, in a file that was classified until yesterday. Here is the part that disturbs me most about the Pentagon's disclosure, not what they released. What they still haven't said. The files are real. The photographs are real. The video footage is real. The eyewitness testimony is from credentialed, trained military personnel. And after all of that, the official position of the United States government is, we don't know what it is. That's it. 80 years of encounters, hundreds of reports, photographs from the moon, videos of objects making physically impossible maneuvers, a 195-foot object materializing from light and disappearing. We don't know what it is. Al Jazeera reported that the Pentagon caption on one image noted there is no consensus about the nature of the anomaly, but that a new preliminary analysis indicated it could be a physical object. A 195-foot bronze metallic shape, materializing from light in the sky, and the best the United States government can offer in 2026 is that it could be a physical object. There is something else buried in these files that most people covering this story have missed. The FBI file, a large file containing hundreds of pages, eyewitness testimonies and public reports about UFOs between 1947 and 1968, 20 years of civilian reports filed with the FBI, held and classified for over 50 years. Regular people, farmers, pilots, truck drivers, teachers, parents, people who saw something in the sky and reported it to their government. Their government took the report, filed it, classified it, and told the public there was nothing to see for 50 years. The files being released now are not new events. They are a record of how long the government has known that something is happening that it cannot explain and has chosen not to tell you. Let me ask you something. If these 162 files are the ones they chose to release, what are the ones they didn't release? The Pentagon said the files will be released on a rolling basis, new tranches every few weeks, as materials are discovered and declassified. Discovered. That word is doing a lot of work because it implies that somewhere in the classified archive of the United States government, there are files that haven't been discovered yet, or files that have been discovered and won't be released. In 2022, Congress created a Pentagon office specifically to investigate and declassify UAP material. That office's first report in 2024 revealed hundreds of new UAP incidents, not dozens, hundreds. And yet the first public release contains 162 files, hundreds of incidents. The math does not add up. Former government officials and whistleblowers who have been speaking publicly for years about UAP programs they claim to have worked on, people who testified before Congress, have said consistently that the files being released to the public represent a fraction of what the government actually holds. David Grush, a former intelligence officer who testified before Congress in 2023, claimed the US government had retrieved non-human craft and biological material. That testimony is on the public record. It was given under oath before the United States Congress. None of the files released on May 8th address those claims. None of them confirm or deny what Grush testified to. They simply don't touch it. A man testified under oath before Congress that the government has retrieved alien craft. The government released 162 files, and none of them answer the question. The files are real. The encounters are documented. The objects are unidentified. And after 80 years, that is still all the government is willing to say. Not what they are, not where they come from, not what they want. Just, we don't know. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe the most powerful military force in the history of human civilization genuinely does not know what is moving through its airspace. Or maybe the answer is somewhere in the files they haven't released yet. Either way, something has been up there for 80 years. Something that makes 90-degree turns at speed. Something that materializes from light. Something that appears over military zones in Iraq and Syria and Africa and cannot be identified. Something that astronauts saw on the moon and didn't have an explanation for. And for 80 years, the people in charge of keeping us safe have been watching it, filing the reports, and saying nothing. The files are open now. You can read them yourself at war.gov UFO. What you decide to believe after that is up to you. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.